There's really probably just one thing that is adversely affecting people more than anything else. It's stopping them from becoming successful. It's preventing them from living the life they want. It's activating and triggering and bringing to surface uncontrollable and irrational emotions. What is this mystical word in Sanskrit called samskara? In English, sometimes we use the word engram or energetic imprint. And we hear this a lot from Reiki masters or yogis or people who meditate or anybody who's involved in the esoteric area. Oh, aura photography, Kirlian photography. A lot of people don't even know what these words mean. At the end of the day, the real question is, how does the mind work? Who knows? And the answer is nobody knows, because you can't see your mind, can you? You can only guess. But what if you met a person who could actually see your mind? That's where the knowledge of how the mind works come from. And that's where this thing called samskara or energetic imprint or engram comes from. So if we go back, and I'm going to tell you what it is in a moment, but if you ask yourself the question, there are people, you included, everybody here, something triggers you from time to time. You may say, oh, he pushed my buttons. What does this mean? This happens to everyone. They have an uncontrollable and irrational emotion. And even if it's a rational emotion, my mother just died and I'm grieving. I feel terrible. That's pretty rational. You feel bad. Your mother just died. My dog got hit by a bus. I feel terrible. That's rational. But if it's uncontrollable and it goes on and on and on, and 2 or 3 years later, when you think about your mother and you start crying incredibly, how is that empowering? What's happening? What's the mechanics of the mind? I was auditing a class online, and there was a woman there, and the facilitator said, tell me about your issue. And she says, well, I'm still grieving over my mother. And she went on to talk about her mother and how much she loved her mother and how she talked to her mother every day. And as she was describing her love for her mother, which was so genuine and beautiful, the woman was in tears and crying and in hysterics. You could feel the pain that this poor woman had over the loss of her mother. And the facilitator said, when did your mother pass? And the woman said, this month, it'll be 9 years. 9 years? I thought it was like 2 days. 9 years, and the woman still is completely incapacitated at the thought of the loss of her mother. What's happening? And the answer is an energetic imprint, a memory, is activating. It's getting keyed in. It's being triggered. It's coming to surface. This is a samskara. What a samskara is a picture in the mind, a memory that you experienced. It's a mental image picture with all of the semantics that go around it. The sights, the sounds, the smells, the kinetic feelings, as well as your emotions. And this picture is encapsulated and trapped with all the energy attached to it. The energy has not gone away. So if anything triggers the reactivation of that mental image picture, what then comes up are all the emotions. What most people do is they have this encapsulated energy in their memory from this lifetime and previous lifetimes. And if you don't believe in previous lives, that's fine. But I learned this in the Brotherhood. And the reason and the way I learned it was with my ability to go into a different dimension, I could see your mind. This is why the term mind reader was used for so long. It was a person who could read your mind. What that meant was I could see the mental image pictures in your mind. So I could go back and I could see where the energy was trapped. I could see the picture, so I could actually tell you your past because I could see the pictures. And when you could actually see a dissection of a person's mind, not brain, you know the mechanics of it. And you see that throughout life, there's a 3D camera running Everything that comes in through your five senses is being permanently recorded in your memory. Everything. 24/7. There's a running tally, and this goes into your bank. That's why it's called the memory bank. It's a place that stores information, and it stores these mental image pictures. And these are not stills, they're actually moving pictures in 3-dimension with emotions attached to it. And when there is negative emotions, because there's so much either physical or emotional pain, that's when it's called an energetic imprint or a samskara or an imprint. And they hide there, waiting to be triggered, waiting to be activated. And when it gets activated, you have an uncontrollable, irrational emotion. This is what's stopping people from having great relationships, because you call it self-sabotage. They're in a relationship and everything's going good, and all of a sudden something triggers, and you have this ridiculous, irrational, and uncontrollable reaction. And your spouse or partner are going, "What the hell's wrong with you? Where did this come from?" And you don't know. All you know is you're livid and screaming because I spilled this bong of water. And I'm like, I just spilled some water. And you start going off. It has nothing to do with me spilling the water. It triggered or pushed your button or activated or brought to surface an energetic imprint that was in your memory. And that's why it's irrational and also uncontrollable. So if you can clear those out by releasing the energy, by blowing the charge, by transmuting that energy, you now become powerful. You can go through life and nothing triggers you. It's the most powerful experience. It's like, okay, my dog got hit by a bus. I'm sad, but it's time not to be sad anymore. I grieved, and I felt that, but it's not going to control me. That emotion's not going to control me. I can control that emotion instead of having the emotion control me. I can get angry when I should at an employee or somebody, but I'm not controlled by the emotion. I can choose to exhibit anger. I can choose to exhibit fear. I can choose to exhibit pain or grief or sorrow, but I can also shut it off when I want to. I'm in control of the emotion. This gives you power throughout life. It allows you to navigate through life as the commander of your ship. And it virtually changes everything.
Kevin, let's talk about when you were in prison. Your mother died while you were in prison, and you weren't allowed to go to her funeral. You were also not allowed to go to your father's funeral while you were incarcerated. How did you deal with that?
I dealt with a lot of things in my life that anybody else would basically become a basket case. You're put in handcuffs without being charged with a crime. You're put in prison for 10 years without being charged with a crime. You have everything taken away from you when you've done nothing wrong, just because the government's trying to shut you up because you're revealing stuff from the Brotherhood. They told you they're going to come after you. You're in prison for nothing without being charged with a crime for years. And your mother passes away, like in my case. Your father passes away, like in my case. I don't get a chance to talk to them before they pass away. I can't go to the funeral. Even though I haven't even been charged with a crime, I'm at a camp. I'm not a flight risk or anything, but they try to break you emotionally. So how did I deal with those things without having any negative emotion? Zero. None. And everybody who was around me saw that. And they said, "Are you like a robot or something?" I said, "No, you see me get excited at the baseball game when we win, or, pissed off when we lose. I mean, I exhibit a full range of emotions by choice. But I didn't have a samskara that keys in. I control my emotion. So when my mother passed, I had the feeling of loss and sorrow. I will miss my mother. But that lasted for an hour, because that's not going to help me. It's not doing me any good. So I choose to think of my mother and feel the loss and sadness. And then I choose to think of my mother and think of how blessed I was to have her in my life and feel happiness. And now you move on. It's over. And the beautiful thing is, when you don't have a samskara or an engram or that energetic imprint, nobody can push your button.
These samskaras, these invisible hidden forces that are in your psyche and in your soul, are they also in your DNA?
Samskaras only are in your memory from your experience, this lifetime, as well as in utero. So when you were conceived at a certain point during the time when you were in the mother's womb, you're picking up samskaras potentially. So this lifetime for sure. And we can show you all the research that verifies that very easily. Because someone who can see the bank, I can tell you the incident, I can write it down, and then I know that this was an incident that happened in the 4th grade, and this was traumatic to you because I can see it, and I write it down, and then I say, okay, what was traumatic to you when early in life? And you avoid it because you don't want to confront it. Then you finally do, and I show you the piece of paper, and I go, yeah, it's right there. I can see it. So we know that it's an energetic imprint. If you believe in past lives, or if you don't, it doesn't matter, because there's also energetic imprints in the mind, in the bank, that go beyond this lifetime. But what's in the DNA is not a samskara. These are counter-intentions. They're not a samskara. Samskara, if you look, we're talking about the mechanics of the mind. I was taught this in the Brotherhood, because in the Brotherhood, which goes back 1,000 years or more, we had manuals, actual written manuals. I actually read one at a seminar recently. I have some of my original manual notes. And on stage, I read the mechanics of the mind, and everyone in about a paragraph. They were like, I've never heard anything like this. Because it resonated so much as true, because it is. But it was the actual mechanics of how the mind works. And when you follow the mechanics, then there's magical changes in a person. Their energy gets magically shifted. Their ability to see energy goes up. Their ability to be a cause of their environment goes up. They become happier, more in control of their life. They have more responsibility. They have what's called pan-determinism. They have determinism and control over everything. Pan is like Pan American Airlines. It's the globe, the whole world. It's all that is. That's the power that you have. You as a spiritual being become bigger and bigger and bigger.
What is the process for clearing samskaras? Can someone actually reprogram their energetic imprint and free themselves from them?
You said the word free yourself from these samskaras or energetic imprints, and that's really correct. That's the right verbiage. You're becoming liberated. You're freeing yourself of something that's a demon. We call that. He's fighting his demons. Well, you're fighting your samskaras, your engrams, your energetic imprints. That's what you're fighting. You have to clear them out. Clearing them is one word, freeing yourself from them another, transmuting the energy, blowing the charge. These are all terms used. And there are many ways that you can do this. There are different modalities out there. Dr. Moore's bioenergetic synchronization technique, Reiki. There's a whole host, the Callahan technique. There's a whole host that try, and in many cases do, help clear that energy or blow the charge or get rid of not the image, but the energy that's encapsulated on that image that keeps getting re-stimulated. These are samskaras. They're energetic imprints, engrams, things that are encapsulated and trapped in your memory that activate, that get re-stimulated, that get triggered, that come to surface and take complete control over you and make you self-sabotage your success or relationship or your health. They cause addictions. They cause you to throw your money away, to become a gambling addict, to cheat on your spouse, to have a stupid argument with the person you love the most and ruin that relationship. These are things that, unless they're cleared out, are going to continue to ruin your life. But number one, no one knows about them. That's why no one talks about them, because they don't know how the mind works. And for those few in the Brotherhood, in the societies that I was a part of, that know the mechanics of the mind, they don't want you to know about it, because if you have these, they control you. You're like a puppet on a string, because all I have to do is then activate one, re-stimulate this one, and I control all your emotions. So if you clear them, you now take control of your life.